The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the guards cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you've seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson, and we have a special guest with us, the returning Daniel Javier Fitz. What's good, man?
What up, guys? I it's funny because I do this every week on my own show, and I just got a little nervous, Doug. Before we went live, I felt like it was the first time. I'm like, I swear I've been here before. And I've even been on your guys' show, and I'm still like, ooh, I got a little nervous. No homo.
Yeah, it's the second time. It's almost been a year since you've been on. But how's life been, man? What you been up to?
It's good. Same old, man. I'm bummed. It's been a year officially since I seen EJ when we were in Vegas. And yeah, man, I saw that they just had another little meetup in Vegas recently with some of the listeners of the other show that we listen to, Cavino and Rich. And it's just been crazy. Just work, kids, life, and just trying to jump on our podcast as often as we can. We're live every Tuesday, so I know you're live with Rutgers, so we try to catch you guys when we can. Try to jump in here whenever I can. I don't always catch you guys live, but yeah, man, I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, that was rude to me. Daniel Javier Fitz is the host and creator of the After Show But Later unofficial Cavino and Rich post show, so be sure to check that out. But yeah, man, I can't believe it's been a year since Vegas. I think I saw on social media that you had another meetup this past weekend, was it?
Yeah, it was some of the local people local to Vegas. I was going to try to get there, but I couldn't, man. But it's a 5-hour drive for me. So I was going to try to go party with those fools and then drive back in the morning, but it didn't work out for me. But yeah, it was a cool little I know Luis Cortez Jr. is in the chat, and he got to go be part of the get together, so we'll talk about that tomorrow on our podcast.
Yeah, make sure to check out the show live. Very entertaining show. Whenever we're not recording this show, a lot of times we pre-record it in the same time as you. But whenever we're not recording, I try to go by the chat and chime in some. But that's what's up, man. Like I said, make sure to check out the After Show But Later. But Admire Steve, what's good, fellas?
Hey, back at it, man. It was a fun weekend. I had all kinds of shit going on. I got a lot of shit to talk about. This is going to be good.
What's good, Steve?
Yeah, here after a wild weekend, but just like hate to compare it to anything you get your drinking or whatever floats your boat, and you have a downer after. So like we said, we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting weekend of fights. Before we actually get into the card, where'd you all watch it at? Where'd you watch it at, Daniel?
I was with my family. Actually, my mom, my sister, my wife never joins us. Usually my mom's spot is the place to go. And my wife actually ended up coming by and watching it. And it was funny because she's always like, why do you go over there and watch it? And I'm like, because it's always just family, getting together. And once my wife got there, she started rooting for people. She started, she was like, in this family, we vote for, or we want Patty the Batty to win. And she got all into it. So it was cool, man. Just around a whole lot of family. It made for a good time.
How about you, Admire?
Man, I had family in town from Colorado, so we'd been planning all week. We had a big cookout and pool party during the day, and then all the adults, we all went to the casino at like 6 o'clock. So we had 2 hours at the casino, and then came back for the main card pool party. I got the TV outside. We were all watching the fights. We were putting bets in on our phones. We were betting with each other. I mean, just cookout, pool party, fights, gambling. It was just mayhem.
That's what's up. That's what's up. How about you, Steve? I know you worked on Saturday.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not as extravagant as y'all sound. I just after work, tell you the truth, I laid in the bed, watched it, was fighting to sleep early, but had a friend come over, and that's what got me up, and then just laid back and watched the rest after he left.
From the sounds of Daniel and Admire, it seems like people made an event out of this. Like we talked about it on the preview show that Admire, you didn't really feel the buzz around it, but as far as when the weekend finally actually got here, you think that the buzz picked up, Admire?
It did, man. We talked about it. Like it wasn't advertised anywhere that I seen. It wasn't like a normal McGregor fight, but like the people I know in general treated it like a McGregor fight. Like it was a holiday. Like that's all we were talking about. Like Saturday night's coming, McGregor's back. Like it's time. And you know what? We're going to get into it, but man, I think Patty Pimblett's the next face.
Yeah. Hold that thought. We'll get to that eventually. But Daniel, like how many people were you watching him? I know you mentioned your wife getting into it. How many people?
Yeah, there's probably maybe less than 10 of us. It was just some family taking up my mom's living room. So, but like Admire, had the bets going, and I know we're gonna get into it, so I don't want to talk too much. But even like Gable Stevenson having that premiere or debut, or was very nice. So a whole lot to get to, man. I'm excited.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And Luis Cortez said just some locals, nothing crazy, but still a great time. I guess he's talking about from the Vegas trip. So that's what's up. Sounds like that's a whole weekend of fun, whole weekend of fights. Let's get into it because we've got a lot to talk about. UFC 329 that went down in Las Vegas out there in the desert, fight capital of the world. Let's go into the early prelims. In flyweight division, we had Alessandro Costa defeating Cody Durden by submission. Middleweight division, we had Ryan Gondra defeating Zachary Reese, TKO. Bantamweight division, we had Fareed Basharat defeating John Garza by unanimous decision. Middleweight division, we had Damian Piñas defeating Cesar Almeida, and the captains went off. In the women's flyweight, we had Wang Kong defeating Tracy Cortez by unanimous decision. Did any of you guys actually get to watch the early prelims?
I watched the Tracy Cortez fight. I just turned it on in the background while we were like fucking around in the pool and stuff. But, I watched her get beat and I was like, man, she's kind of washed at this point. Like there's nowhere left really for Tracy Cortez to go.
I want to talk about that. So hold that thought. Did Steve and Daniel y'all get to watch any of the early prelims?
No, I did not.
I did. I watched every one of them. I started with the first early prelim like it was Connor. I get so excited for these nights, man.
Yeah.
These even though it was a numbered event, it wasn't a fight night, but these fight nights are so fun for me, man. So 2:00 my time, I was there at actually like 1:30. I started watching like the pre-show with Dominic Cruz and friggin' who else was there?
I think Bisbing was on there. If I'm
was
not
there,
mistaken.
yeah. And so Chris Weidman was there. So I was watching all that, then flipped over to Paramount, dog. I was excited. Again, disappointed that Tracy Cortez lost because she might be a little washed, but I feel like I could fix her,
That's what they all say, right? Yeah, let's get into her losing because they had some other fights on other prelims. This is the one I wanted to focus more so on because we got more to talk about in the prelims in the main card. She lost. She didn't look particularly aggressive in that fight, but that illegal knee, what was that, second round, third round, that illegal knee?
Yeah, that was it was bad, but by no means did that determine the fight. Her ass is getting stomped, and honestly I felt bad because she's bad.
Luis Cortez, he said, for the record, we're not related. I wish you were related and you could put a good word in for me. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I mean, we talked about it on the previous show on how her record is not that bad if you look at it. I think she had like 3 losses from when we looked at it. But
Yeah, and it was just a Blanchfield Rose and like her first fight ever to some no-namer. So I mean, her record isn't bad. But now she's lost 3 of her last 4.
That knee was egregious. Lucky she didn't take too much damage. She was able to continue on the fight. But I like how the ref went in and just took a point immediately, no warning.
100%.
So do you guys think that's the way that the ref should go about it going forward? No, not even a warning if something like that happens.
I mean, it's one of those situational things. I mean, it just depends on kind of what happens. If it just kind of flatlines somebody, you definitely have to take the point. But if it doesn't seem to really affect somebody, then, you know, it's kind of warning worthy. I know there should be a flat out answer, a yes or a no, but it's really dependent on what happened with it.
What do you think, Daniel?
I gotta respectfully disagree with Admire. I think they should take the point. I think eye pokes, they should take a point right away. It shouldn't be no warning because it's going to impact the fighter, right? It's going to impact them regardless of whether they flatline them or not. To me, it's just like these are the rules. Like it's like if you get caught stealing, right? And you're like, oh, I didn't know it was illegal to steal, right? Terrible example, but however, they say ignorance is no excuse for the law. So just like with fighting, if it was an accident, it sucks, but those are the rules, right? So it was like if you eye poke on accident, that's a point, right? And then maybe your ass will close your fingers next time, right? If she's a grounded opponent and you knee her in the face, yeah, it sucks. Possibly an accident. I'm not saying that these folks are out here to be cheaters, but maybe you might be a little more careful next time. I think it's an automatic point each time, and I don't know. That's just my opinion. So, Admire, love you, you know, but that's just my opinion.
What do you think, Steve?
Well, if you look at the involvement of the sport, I always say humans, as far as like how much they want to put pressure on something as far as a law, it has to be an agreement of everybody. Like we said, we seen UFC 1, it was illegal to punch, you know what I'm saying, in the nuts, you know what I'm saying, let alone other illegal things. And based off of sanctions, we literally don't see that no more. I mean, we all can agree that's a blatant, probably like disqualification. Just like we can agree that what Paul Daly did to Josh Koscheck, we haven't seen him in the UFC since. And those are more blatant examples, I would say. But like I said, people won't respect it until the refs see it's like a blatant foul, just like we see somebody getting fouled in the groin or I think eye poke since we've lately, I don't know, since the past 5 years and probably even more, but we've seen a lot of fights getting stopped or, derailed because of eye pokes lately. And I think that's something that needs to come up to be enforced, like automatic point. And I think we might see people closing their fist a lot more because that can literally cost a point.
I kind of agree with Amai and Steve and Daniel. I think it just something so blatant, like a knee to the downed opponent, that should definitely be automatic point taken. But I think all eye pokes aren't created equally though, because you got some instances where somebody may be pushing somebody up against a fence and somehow the hand went up a little bit high, and then that's how the eye poke happened. Of course, a guy like John Jones is a repeat offender with the hands out. So maybe it should be like we study the fights and the patterns of what you do before, and you do this too much. I know it's kind of not fair, based on, your past, but still we got a lot of evidence that you're doing this, then a point automatically. But like something that is egregious as a knee to a ground opponent, like how's that an accident? Unless like maybe if you go try to go towards the body, but still, like, you shouldn't be throwing knees when somebody's on the ground. So
weren't they going to get rid of that rule with the knees on the ground or something? Or were they talking about it? Because I thought they got rid of that rule somewhere.
No, it's jurisdiction. Go ahead, Daniel.
No, they changed it to where before it was like if you were touching like with like a finger or something, or you had to have, now it's like it has to be like a full hand, because people before were just putting like it as close to them touching the ground as possible. Now I think it has to be a full hand, and I could be wrong, but I know there's something like
like 3 points of contact or something, or you have to have all 4 points of contact for no knees, but if it's less than 4 points of contact, then they can or something.
Yeah, I know it's jurisdiction by jurisdiction, I want to say, because they're in one state and they're like, this state still has you as long as you have one hand. So I wish it was more uniform, but I think it's for Vegas, you have to have 2 hands on the ground.
It depends on the commission as well, right?
Yeah, it depends on the commission. And Luis Cortez said, didn't they come out with newer gloves to help out with IPO? Yeah, but those gloves didn't really end up helping though. So they tried to. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm glad in this scenario that the ref went in and just took a point immediately, even though it didn't really affect the outcome of the fight anyway. But as far as Cortez moving forward, seems like UFC is pretty high on her. She gets a lot of social media engagement, but this loss is definitely a roadblock. So do you think she still has a chance of, maybe going on that one last spurt at Meyer to get a title shot at this point?
I mean, they dropped her back 2 spots to number 10 now. So, I mean, she's got a long ways to go. I mean, she's back there with like the Corinne Silvas and some of those lower names. So, I mean, she's got to go on one hell of a run to get back up there to the title shot. Like you said, the UFC does favor her because she does have a great presence. So they will push her as much as they can, but she's got to also have wins to be able to back it up. So, I mean, they can't just gift her a title shot. She's got to do something to earn it. But Wayne Kong jumped up 4 spots to number 6 off that win. So, I mean, one more win for her, she might be fighting for a title shot.
What do you think, Daniel? You think Cortez can make one last spurt to try to get a title?
Nah, I think she'll have a decent career in the UFC, but I don't see her fighting for a title. I really don't. Because I know the UFC is going to continue to push her right until she gets fat, and they're just going to continue to. I think she'll have a decent career. She doesn't, like you mentioned, have a terrible record, so she don't have a terrible record. She's marketable, so they're going to push her. They may not have her fighting for a belt. I don't see that in her future. As much as I love her, that ain't in the cards. But I do see her having a decent career and being around for a little while.
What do you think, Steve?
I think she's gonna be one of those. And man, sometimes gatekeeper is like 5, but I think maybe, and I may be wrong, in women's division, it's almost like the gatekeeping is stretched out to 1 through 10. I mean, like somebody mentioned Karen Silva, and I think she may have a loss, but she's not a bad fighter. She has to go all through these people and win. And she's not an impressive fighter also to me, not getting amazing knockouts, going to decisions, and maybe get a win of a submission, but you just don't know what her specialty to get the job done. Because I would say, like we see, she lost and she's at rank 10 now. And to me, from what I've seen, once you get outside that top 10 rank, they don't so much promote you unless somebody you're fighting is within the top 10. So I really don't see it. And plus, we seeing that women's division getting a lot deeper. And she pushed herself back to 10 at this point in her career. I mean, I don't see it.
I don't know. I'm not even just playing devil advocate here, but look at the champion in this division. You got Mackenzie Dern. She's not quite a world beater. No disrespect to her, but she's not like a world beater. If she were to lose the championship next fight, you wouldn't be surprised. So I think anything can really happen in this division. So she goes on 3-fight win streak, and somebody above her gets injured. They might throw her in there. You never know.
And you know what though, EJ, on that same note, the UFC wants to push her, right? They have their agenda, right, where they want to push certain people. So like you mentioned, if she does get a few wins under her belt and she goes on a streak, maybe,
Yeah. Well, UFC seems like the UFC favors her, so we'll keep an eye out and see where she goes from here. But let's get into the preliminary card that happened on CBS. I didn't realize it was on CBS, so should have been a lot of eyes on that. I know they've been doing like second half of the prelims for CBS, and then like the first few fights on the main card on CBS. So I'm guessing that's how they did it this time. So in the featherweight division, we had Luke Rowley defeating Kai Kamaka by TKO knees. Bantamweight division, we had Adrian Yanez defeating Cody Garbrandt by TKO. Jeez. Heavyweight division, we had Gable Stevenson in his debut defeating Elisha Ellison by KO. And then in the light heavyweight division, we had Robert Whitaker making his light heavyweight debut, defeating Nikita Krylov by TKO. Jaw injury, which sounds pretty brutal. Where do we even start with this one? We'll start off with Cody Garbrandt. Like we said, he had that terrible streak, and then he went on like I think a win-loss type of deal, and now he takes a loss. So, what were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
I mean, I've always been a fan of his just because he gives it his all. I mean, never in a boring fight, but we talk about it every time he fights, man. Like, it might be time just to hang it up because that chin, 35 years old. This is like what his fifth knockout loss, I think. Fifth knockout loss. So he's 15-8 now. CTE ain't a good thing, man. Like, he's taken some brutal knockout losses. And a lot of them, in the last 8 years, that's a lot of knockout losses in just a short amount of time. So I just hate to see anything happen to him, just a really rapid decline in, cognitive skills and all that. We always talk about different things they could do if they were to retire, but I mean, he's got a big name. He trained with Alpha Male. I don't know if he's still there. I think he moved on to Extreme Couture at one point, but I mean, he could make a living off of his name coaching or whatever. Go do something where you're not getting punched in the head. I'm sorry, it's time to give it up.
Wow. Hot take. What are your thoughts on this, Daniel?
I agree with Admire on that 100%. And I think what makes me agree with them even more is that the fact that I like Cody, and I just see it's not going to look good, Doug. Especially the more knocked out you get, the easier it is for you to get knocked out, right? Your chin starts to go, and then so when is he going to call it quits when he can't speak? So as if you like the dude, you should want him to retire.
That's a good point. What are your thoughts?
But you don't agree, EJ. Let's hear it.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, Steve? Before I get into my thought,
man, just the way Cody he brings the fight, especially early in his career, achieving championship, and even after somebody you want to watch, he's either going to do the knocking out or he's going to get, knocked out, as we see lately in his career. I mean, I don't know. You don't see no resurgence, no evolvement to fix his self where he is right now to start, going for a championship. I mean, we've seen, and he's not even as old, but Glover did it and reinvented himself, and you just don't see Cody doing that. And you can partly see some of his ego. He just can't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's fighting himself because he gets in these firefights. And if I can't recall, I mean, he got in a little firefight in this one, and I don't know. And so saying Cody's going to do anything in MMA, I don't know. I think he's past that, and I think he would be more interesting as far as in a bare knuckle to where you don't have to worry about legs or takedown. Maybe that's his go-to right now in his career.
Kind of beat me to it, Steve. So he turned 35 last week, but not all 35s are made equally. He's kind of an older 35 with the wear and tear he's taking on his body because he was in the UFC young. But if he still wants to fight, would y'all be mad, like Steve said, if he went to bare knuckle and fought? Admire?
I mean, I think that's a good home for him, and that's completely like opposite of what I just said. But I mean, but we've talked about it before. Bare knuckles the type of place where you're not getting repeatedly hit in the head. It's like, you don't take a lot of damage in bare knuckle. It's like you're going to get hit once or twice and you're kind of out. So, yeah, it's going to be one hard hit, but you're not going to get, just repeatedly hit over and over and over. It's usually done quicker than that. So I would rather him leave the UFC and go do at least one bare knuckle than stick around the UFC for another fight or two. Like, go try that at least once, then stick around here, because I think the damage he's going to get here is worse than what would, happen in bare knuckle.
You agree with that, Daniel?
I don't think it'd be a good move. I mean, this fool I think he needs to call it a day. Go rip tickets at the carnival or something, dog. Because like Doug, the thing what I think about is that these fools have a long life, right? They may be old, like you said. He's got a lot of miles on him, right? At 35, he's got a lot of miles in fighting years. But dog, if this fool lives till 70, 80, 90 years old, he's not even halfway done with his life. And I don't know. I don't think it would be cool. But I mean, who the hell? I'm not paying his bills, So you got to think about that too.
Yeah, we don't know how his bank account looks, so he might need to keep fighting, especially with the UFC pays these guys. I mean, but Amar, you
something like mine, he's gonna be fighting till he's like 90.
Amar, you did look at his pay for like his last fight. It wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as I thought. Wasn't it like $250,000 or something like that? That's pretty high for.
I think it was around 200,000. I'm gonna look and see what his pay was the other night because we couldn't find out if that was with a win or anything. So I'm gonna see what he got paid the other night for losing.
Either way, I was just trying to play devil's advocate a little bit. Like, I don't really know why he's still doing it at this point, unless it's a financial purpose. Because he's not going to get the championship again. He wasn't ranked, was he? I think somebody might have mentioned it. He wasn't ranked, was he? There's no way he's ranked at this point. So, I mean, everybody's always going to think they got more left in the tank for the most part. They're always chasing that dragon of that success, and it's probably like less than 0.01% of people who've reached the mountaintop and been a UFC champion in the world. So he's done something that's a lot of people haven't done. A lot of people can't say that they've done. But I don't want to see him keep taking damage. Like you said, it's still early on how these guys are going to turn out in the long run. We have a lot more evidence with boxing. We saw how bad Ali was towards the end of his life. We hadn't really seen these MMA guys, because the UFC was 93. So we hadn't really seen a lot of these guys get into their like late 60s, 70s yet. So even though there is studies that, mixed martial art guys aren't taking as much like repeated damage as boxing, because boxing, you're repeatedly getting hit in the head. MMA, you got other ways where the fight can go on the ground. So a lot of times you're not getting repeatedly hit in the head. So that might, be some, caveat to them maybe being in bad shape later down the line. But like Chuck Liddell, I think he might be a good example. Like, he kind of looks punchy when you see him in interviews nowadays. So, I mean, Go ahead, Amar.
Yeah, Garbrandt made 190,000 the other day, so that's his base pay, whether it's win or lose. So, I mean, he makes pretty decent money for what it is. So that's one reason he's sticking around. But on the other side of that, though, look at Andrei Arlovsky. I mean, he's 47 years old, still fighting. And think about where he was at 35. He was, known as having a glass jaw even back then, getting knocked out. We were, we've all been hollering for Arlovsky to be retiring for a long ass time, and he's had quite the resurgence, So I'm not saying that Cody Garbrandt can, but I think it's better to be safe than sorry, because not everybody's gonna have the same, result as Arlovsky, but it could happen. And I bet a lot of fighters do look at it like that. Like, hey, there's these other fighters that do have a resurgence, and his chin seemed to kind of heal up over time.
I mean, it's possible. Even with Glover Teixeira, he was 40 something when he won the light heavyweight belt. Randy Couture, what was he? 42 when he won the heavyweight belt off of Tim Silva?
God, that sounds
Tim
so
Sylvia.
old, 'cause
Tim
I'm
Sylvia.
fucking 42 now. Shit.
Yeah, when he beat Tim Sylvia. Yeah, so it's possible, but more often than not, that usually doesn't happen. So I don't know if he gets cleared by doctors. I hope he does like extensive testing to see where his faculties are at. But I just don't want to see it in the UFC. Really, I'd like to see some type of circus fight, or not even PFL. Like it's either him go to like Jake Paul MVP.
Let's see him go to RAF.
It's that Real American Wrestling. I mean, that'd be safe. You're not getting hit in the face. So.
Yeah, I just don't want him to get hit
background.
anymore.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had a wrestling background. I probably did know that, but probably wouldn't. So yeah, maybe. That got a lot more steam than I thought it would. It's that wrestling. There's a lot of UFC guys that do that. So yeah, but
Eric Bischoff is one of the people behind it.
It was Hulk Hogan too before he passed.
Well, yeah, we won't talk about him on this podcast.
Yeah, but maybe I don't want to be morbid, but maybe because it seems like after Hogan passed, that's when it really started taking off. So maybe that cloud around it is the reason why it started getting more popular. But I digress. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Cody, but there's a couple more fights on prelims we got to talk about before we get to the main card. The debuting Gable Steveson, decorated wrestler out of the University of Minnesota, same college that Brock Lesnar went to, also Olympian, gold medalist. He got the job done, but, it was some kind of murky scenarios in there where he was kind of getting tagged in it, but he was able to show that he had a chin against basically, no disrespect to Ellison, it was basically a can. Or what were your thoughts on his performance, Admire?
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. I mean, of course, he won like he was supposed to, being that heavy of a favorite. But I've seen a lot of flaws in his game, too. As expected, it's his fourth professional fight ever. But, Ellison caught him with some good hits, stuffed some of the takedowns. Even, Gable Steveson looked like he shit his pants when Ellison shot for a takedown. So there's a lot of things he can work on, which I'm sure he will, but I don't think it's time for the UFC just to automatically throw this guy in with a top 10 guy because he'll probably just get mopped. So they should probably take their time with him.
What were your thoughts on this, Daniel?
I'm gonna second a lot of what Admire said. I think there was I think, and the reason why, if it would have just been a debut, I would have been like, oh, that's cool, impressive, right? But I think the fact that the hype has been so crazy for him, I expected a lot more. And I understand fourth fight, you're like, there's going to be a lot of growing, right? He's got to do a lot of growing. But I just, for the amount of hype that there was, I saw him get tagged a couple of times. We didn't see him use any of his wrestling, which, okay, maybe he's saying, I'm multidimensional. You all know that I wrestle, and I'm going to prove that. But I don't know. It was solid, right? Obviously. But I just wasn't as impressed as I think I was expecting. Maybe it was my fault for thinking, but I feel like they've been selling him for a minute, right? He wasn't already on Rogan, like, and he hadn't even been in the UFC yet. And I'm just like, I don't know. I guess I was just like not as impressed as I should have been, right?
What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, to me, there's a few times to where it was a scary moments, head sticking straight up, right in the pocket. And Ellison, he wasn't throwing no petty shots. He was throwing heat to where I'm like, ooh, one of those connect. Or if just imagine we got a little bit better of a striker who, can connect. And we're talking heavyweight, man. I mean, it takes one shot. And I saw a lot of moments to where he was vulnerable. We all know he was an Olympian, but it's sort of like, we know DC is a wrestler, but when I'm thinking like somebody gold Olympian, I'm thinking Khabib, every time he gets your legs, you're going down. He went for that shot and couldn't get it. I'm like, I'm like, and this is a lower ranked guy. And, maybe he just didn't take that takedown seriously. He just wanted to get some his hands off. but definitely, it to me doesn't look promising right now. I like Admar say, slow him down, but definitely has potential. But what I do like about it, he's a fighter that, there's a dog in him. He's not those runner wrestlers, so that's what I like about him. He put his head out there to show he's not scared, so I'll give him that much credit. He's used to being in the firefight, I should say.
Well, hold up, Steve. You said it doesn't look promising, but even though it was a can, he still got him out of there in half a round.
But one of those connected on his face, which he got hit a few times, but there's certain ones that missed by a hair, and I think could have done a real damage. All it takes is one to shift your career too, and he's making it a lot riskier at the beginning of his career when he doesn't have to. We didn't even see his wrestling for real.
But don't you guys think that the UFC first fight jitters is a real thing though?
100%. I do. I feel you.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
y'all don't factor that though, Admire?
What was that?
The UFC first fight jitters. You don't think that's a real thing?
Yeah, definitely it could be there for sure. That's why it's important to see what happens with that next fight. Gable Stevenson, with his credentials and everything, it's going to be kind of like the Bo Nichols story. You got to see what happens and how he uses the wrestling and what they do with him. I was guilty as anybody riding high on Bo Nichols, and then his second fight in there, look what happened. So that's going to be the true test and story is the second fight, the second and third fight. So we'll see if it was nerves. We'll see what really happens.
Well, you mentioned Bo Nichols. I was going to bring him up too. That's why, I don't think they're going to just throw Stevenson in the deep end. I think Bo Nichols just got ranked his last fight. So I think they're going to take it a little bit slow, even though heavyweight is pretty shallow. Heavyweight probably the worst division.
Shallow.
So, but I still don't think they're going to rush him and throw him a top 10 person. I think they're going to do the Bo Nichols route. How long did it take for Bo Nichols to finally get a ranked opponent? Was it probably his last fight that he finally got a ranked opponent?
Yeah, like you said, in 2 years, I think.
And like you said, he had that hiccup. So I think they'll go down that route. And I might be wrong. I don't think John Jones is completely done at this point. And I don't think they want to fight each other because they train together. We saw John Jones in the cage with him. So I think John Jones has one or two more fights left at heavyweight before he calls it quit. And I don't think they want to overlap those two. So I think we'll see Stevenson get, kind of brought along the way at a decent pace. We'll probably see him get a ranked person maybe late 2027, early 2028. I may be wrong, but I just see that trajectory.
What do you think, EJ? What do you think about his physique? Because I know the heavyweight division doesn't have a lot of rip dudes, right? A lot of dudes, you do see a lot of dudes flabbier, a little heavier, whatever. But what do you think about usually wrestlers, right? They have the best cardio. I'm curious is to see him heavier now, right? As a MMA fighter than wrestling, but I'm curious to see how he'll do when he'll start to gas out because I'm just when I think about him fighting against Tom or Cyril or these people that are not that Tom's the most in shape dude, but compared to Gable, he is, right? And then you look at somebody like Cyril who is looks like an action figure. I just wonder how quickly I just want to see him in a full fight going to decision and kind of see how his cardio is. What do you think about his physique or anything? Do you think he should tighten up a little bit or do you think it doesn't matter?
I don't really think it matters at heavyweight like that because, like you said, you got Cyril Gahn. He's shredded, ripped and shredded, but we've seen him get tossed by not so shredded John Jones. John Jones is not at his optimal
true
fitness at heavyweight. He's not like light heavyweight where he's super shredded John Jones. And then with Tom Aspinall, I guess you could compare those two to Cyril and Tom, and Cyril was piecing them up in that last fight. And then I'm trying to think, DC. Look at DC. He's a heavyweight champion and Olympian wrestler. So
yeah, Is he
I don't
getting on
think it
top of
matters.
that cage, rubbing his belly after he won?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he looked definitely. DC definitely looked better in shape when he was at light heavyweight, even though he kind of looked drained. But he is never like a ripped guy. So I don't know if it necessarily matters at heavyweight. And Gable Steveson, he's never been like, as far as what I've seen in the Olympics, he was never like super shredded, won a gold medal. So I just think everybody has different body types, and I don't know. I do want to see how his cardio's tested. I do want to see how his cardio's tested to see what happens with that. I'm sure it's probably because John Jones is a cardio machine, and that's who he trains with.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't make Olympians in the lab or anything. They don't come too often, especially in the UFC. So we'll see. What do you think about that, Amir? Before we wrap this up,
his physique?
Yeah,
man, I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know. I mean, 5'11", 265. It's what do they call that? Like
fat.
No, I can't remember. They call it like fat, ripped, or fat. So I don't know. It's like
that's part of that.
There's like so much muscle under that softness, man. Like, but it's weird. Like I don't know, man. There's just so much muscle underneath it. He's just strong as hell. But like with somebody having those wrestling credentials, you're used to somebody like DC. That's like the comparison in my head. And DC was like so fat compared to this dude. So I don't know, man. I think that I would almost think that this guy could slim down and cut down to 205.
You probably could actually, but he wrestled at heavyweight in the Olympics, so I guess he just feels more comfortable up there. And with the landscape of heavyweight, probably feels like he can make a push down the line. So before we get off there, what do you think about his physique, Steve?
Like I said, we didn't see his wrestling. I want to see how he imposes his weight, tires his opponent out, or how easier it is to get takedowns, maybe because somebody's heavier. But you usually see heavyweights, 205 to 265. I can't remember. I think it's Stipe or one of those fights. They were playing with their weight. The one fight, they went in at 230 something, and then the next fight was like 250 something. So, I would like to we really have to see his career, like what he needs to do if he has to go through adversity his next fight. But to me, I mean, if he went in there at 265 at 5'11", I mean, what can this dude be at 235, putting on muscle? I mean, this dude might be unstoppable. It might, gain a six-pack instead of that keg he got.
Yeah. And one more thing before we get off this. I know it's not happening anytime soon. I think this guy is way more fast-tracked, and he might not even be in the same position that he is by the time Steve gets up there. But I think they probably would try to market like a Hokit versus Stevenson somewhere down the line. I don't know. Stevenson was a little bit younger than Hokit. I think Stevenson was 2000. I think Hokit is 97 or something like that. Don't you see them maybe trying to market that somewhere down the line? Go ahead, Daniel.
Stevenson was born in 2000?
Yeah, he's a young buck. I was already, running through tissues at his age when he was born. Yes. I don't know. That seemed like that would be up your alley, Amir, Hokit versus Stevenson in 2-3 years or something like that.
Yeah, I've already heard rumors about, that's definitely the dream matchup for the UFC, but people are saying they don't think that the UFC will make that matchup because of Gable Stevenson's past, the allegations against him, the charges that he beat, and Hokit, using that to talk, using those talking points. They don't want that being all over the media.
I mean, I feel like Sean Strickland does stuff like that to his opponent anyways. It's not like they shy away from stuff like that. I don't think that'd be a deterrent from them making that if it's money to be made.
Yeah, and people are saying, Bo Nickel beat Hokett in college wrestling, so if Bo Nickel can beat Hokett, then Gable's definitely going to be able to. But MMA is a whole different game, man. Like college wrestling is college wrestling. This is wrestling with punches and kicks and knees and other shit. So it's not the same game. And Hokett's turned into an absolute animal. So definitely a fight that would be on the horizon if they both, have the same trajectory.
Yeah,
I
it'd
think
be
it's too early
interesting.
for them to fight. I think the UFC wants to build them up a little bit more, wants to keep building them, and then make it a fight. Like, I think UFC knows that the heavyweight division is weak right now, so I think they want to kind of build up these dudes like back and forth and kind of build them up, and then have them fight in like you were saying, EJ, in like a couple of years or something. I think it'll be a minute. I think they want to build them up individually and then make it like, oh, dang, once they get a few more wins under their belts.
It's definitely too early now. And some things have to align, too, for that fight to happen down the line. We don't know if Hokett may fall off a cliff by the time that gets there. I think Stevenson is still on the rise, so I don't know. We'll have to see if the stars align and we actually get that fight down the line. But we'll keep an eye out on what happens with Stevenson in the immediate future. But before we get into the main card, one last fight on this card, we had Robert Whittaker making his light heavyweight debut, defeating Nikita Krylov, TKO. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember exactly. I watched this fight, but I can't remember what played out in the first couple rounds. But eventually, Whittaker was able to get the win. And I know during the fight, though, I do remember Joe Rogan and Dan Cormier being like, he looks a little soft. This doesn't look like the division he needs to be in, or he needs to optimize his weight. And then until he won, and then they like flipped the script all of a sudden. They're like, oh, he was able to get the win. Of course, they always talk nonsense, whatever they want to say. And even though stuff doesn't actually come to fruition sometimes with those guys on commentary. But Whittaker was able to get the win at light heavyweight. What are your thoughts on this performance, Admire?
I didn't get to see this fight, honestly. I was driving from the casino to home during this fight, so I did not get to watch it.
Oh, did you get to see the highlights online?
No, I didn't even watch the highlights. All I knew is Robert Whittaker won. I know that there was a couple takedowns in the first round by Krylov. That's about all I know of it.
What were your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
I honestly thought Krylov was gonna win, and I just thought he's been at this weight. I'm like he's bigger, longer limbs, right? And it's always tricky when somebody's coming up in weight, right? Because they're not so adjusted to their new body, right? Robert Whittaker obviously looked a little soft, I'm always used to seeing him like so fit, right? And so I was kind of like, I don't know, I kind of think Krylov is gonna do this. And then it kind of reminded me of that Chris Weidman broken leg, gave one, got one. And it was like Robert Whittaker with the broken jaw, then he turns around and he breaks Krylov's jaw. And I'm like, Doug, that was just crazy, because I'm like, it's so crazy. There's so many things that could happen in the fight, and it's just crazy if because as many things can go crazy in the actual octagon, it's not that often that there's like a broken leg or a broken arm or broken jaw or whatever. So it always trips me out when one dude is involved in multiple fights with the same injury. He got Robert Whittaker's face collapsed and he got his jaw broken. Now, about 2 years later, maybe comes and now he breaks this fool's jaw. So I was happy. I like Bobby Knuckles, right? That's my homie right there. And I like him. So I'm glad he got the win. I didn't think he was going to, though. But it'll be interesting to see how he does at this new weight moving forward. I feel like this gave him a confidence boost.
Yeah, definitely gave him a boost. When you mentioned broken jaws, I just think about Kobe Covington getting his jaw broken by Usman. Did they ever confirm that, Steve, that Kobe got his jaw broken?
I mean, there's confirmations, but from the horse's mouth, which is Covington, I mean, he denies it. So it's like a back and forth. I mean, there's people that show so-called x-rays and stuff. So, I mean, I would believe he did. From what I remember, when he was on the stool, you kind of heard him say it or whisper it to his coach. Seems like he thinks his jaw's broken, but I don't know. I think there's a percentage of maybe doubt, but I think he did.
Yeah, he probably did. He was just capping and trying to save face, saying he
Yeah.
didn't. But what were your thoughts on Whitaker's performance at this new weight class, Steve?
First it was a little bit scary. I was like, not saying shorter people struggle in light heavyweight, but shorter. What is he? 5'11" or 6 foot, 6
Something
foot
like that.
even.
Yeah.
And light heavyweights are a little bit taller, and he was looking a little bit less physique than middleweight, of course, but got it going. A little bit scary when he got to the ground. Got a hold of his jaw just like Chimaev did. If I don't know if y'all remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad he got out of that. And what was it? The second round just started lighting off like the old Robert Whitaker's, choosing his shots and doing that little signature 1-2 leg kick behind the 2, and got that off. He started to get comfortable, and I think he's gonna look good. And I don't want to foreshadow too early, but I think we might see a matchup easily to make.
Okay, so that brings me to, what do we see the ceiling for Whitaker at light heavyweight, Admire?
Man, I mean, he should be able to do good, because once you get to that like middle of the pack, it's all guys that are fairly weathered and should be people he can keep up with. I mean, you got like Dominic Reyes, in there. I can see him, getting in there with Jamal Hill, even though Jamal Hill, I think, said he was going to move around. But, I think he would compete good with most of these guys around that middle area of the light heavyweight. I don't think he's going to fare too well once you get to the top. The Jiri, Ankalaev, things like that, probably not too well. Paulo Costa, I think, Paulo Costa's former middleweight with him. I don't know if this is the right move. I mean, it's something to do, it's something to try, but eventually I think these light heavyweight guys are going to be too big, too much for him.
What do you think, Daniel?
I love Robert Whitaker. I don't see him getting about at this weight class. One thing, I mean, he's moving up. It's later in his career. He's got a lot of miles on him. I see him having some okay fights right here, but I don't see him even fighting for a title, to be honest. But definitely not winning anything.
Steve?
I think we'll be able to see good fights, but I mean, we're talking about, what's his name? He last got KO'd by Piera. Good wrestler. Ankalaev.
Oh,
You got to worry about Ankalaev. Like you said, Roundtree. I mean, that's a striking battle of itself, and we don't know of as Whitaker going to the ground a lot. He ends up succumbing more to the if he goes to the ground, he gets submitted, but mostly we see him succumbing to the feet or getting rocked lately in his career. So, I mean, you're talking about hard hitting, heavier frame dudes versus a middleweight that too much doesn't have the size. And I know we talked about it before. I think Whitaker might be one of those fighters that suffer with those people that can't get in between weights. He can't go to welterweight, and he's too small for light heavyweight.
Yeah. He's kind of a tweener. I mean, he used to fight at welterweight, which is crazy to think about. But he kind of made a splash in the rankings already. He's number 13. So before we move on to the main card, is there anybody within like the 7th 12 range you might want to see him against? You say you didn't want to see Roundtree, but Roundtree's 6, so you got Ozdemir.
I mentioned Dominic Reyes. I mean, I think Dominic Reyes would be the real test, and that's going to tell you if Robert Whitaker belongs at light heavyweight. Because I mean, Reyes, went the distance with John Jones and then, really fell off, but he's still, basically ultimate gatekeeper status. He's holding that number 7 spot. I think that if Robert Whitaker can get through him, that says, hey, you belong here. You got a real good chance. If you can't get through Reyes, it's like, okay, you really need to evaluate your career.
Agreed. I think you said it perfectly, Admire. Because I think if he loses to Reyes, Reyes is getting up there too in age, and he's still a badass. But so it's like, hey, if you want to be in the top 5, you should be able to walk through Reyes, right? But so I completely agree with you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if he does some damage at this weight class. I kind of do agree with Rogan and DC though. He might need to tighten up a little bit as far as physique goes. So we'll see what happens with him next. Appreciate it, Luis Cortez, coming in the chat. So let's move on to the main card, fellas. At lightweight division, we had King Green defeating Terrence McKinney by TKO. Me and Admire had King Green and Steve had Terrence McKinney. And for the first 4.5 minutes, McKinney dominated the action. He was beating up Green with those punches and controlling them on that canvas, and pretty much looked like Green was cooked. But Green was able to weather the storm, found that opening. He targeted McKinney's body and unleashed that left hook and dropped him and swarmed on him, ground and pound, and that was all she wrote. What were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
This was a hell of a way to open up the main card, man. Like, Bobby Green's just never in a boring fight. Like, this was crazy. He was just getting his ass beat. And, like, I sent you screenshots of my bets that I put in, and he was the first, fight of my bets. So I was like, oh, shit. Well, I'm cooked already. And I was just sad the whole fight because he was getting his shit rocked. And then just out of nowhere, he escaped. And what a beautiful just shot to the liver. It just dropped McKinney. So many people online thought that this fight was fixed. They were like, there's no way. Like, they let that go too long. They didn't stop it. And then, McKinney shouldn't have been hurt by that, blah, blah, blah. But if you watch some of McKinney's other fights, like, this isn't the first time that he was winning a fight and just got absolutely caught. So he really needs to go back to the drawing board as well and learn how to finish a fight when he's in a good position, because he's done this a couple times. People got their tinfoil hats on if they think it's fixed. I just think sometimes fights have ebbs and flows. But, King Green was able to come back and, get there. I think it was like 1 second left when the ref came in there. So official time was 4:59. Yes, crazy. What were your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
I love Bobby. I love Bobby Green, and so I was nervous. I'll be honest. I was scared most of that fight, right until he got that knockout. And it was funny because, like I said, I was watching it with my family. Afterward, when Bobby started getting all crazy and he was like, pounding his chest, my mom was like, man, she's like, shut up. She's like, you were getting your ass beat. And now all of a sudden, and I go, but that makes it even a better story that he was over here. Boom. Everybody starting to count him out. If you're like Admire, like myself, I was watching the odds start shifting. Right. And then he pulls that off and you're just like, to me, I'm just like, I love it. I love Bobby. I love him to a fault where I don't always put my money on him, This one, I actually had him in my parlay, so that was nice, but I wasn't too confident about it. But I loved it. Like you said, Bobby's always a fun, or King Green now, is always a fun dude to have. He's always entertaining. I feel like he's always a good dude. When he wins or he loses, he's a good sport about it. And if you know anything about this dude's upbringing, if I'm not mistaken, he had a little brother die. He's been through some stuff, So like this, if he loses, he's like, yeah, it sucks, but he's respectful because he knows it could be way worse, right? He could be living how he was before this. So I like Bobby. So I'm always down for a Bobby fight.
What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, man, it was a firefight and an unexpected KO from King Green. Like I said, I thought McKinney was gonna win, but like Admire said, man, there's McKinney's caught in these situations to where either can't capitalize or ends up getting caught. Um, McKinney was looking promising, and I think McKinney's a dangerous fighter. It's just what his weakness is what I just said, and for the fact Green was getting whooped and found a way, just shows that he's a fighter that people look forward to watch, and it's always will be excited. And I'll tell you one thing: if you don't think he's gonna win, he'll put himself on the line to get KO'd too. And that's what I respect about him. He'll go into fights sometimes knowing. I feel like sometimes he'll lose, like with who did he fight? Wrestler, welterweight champion now, Khabib's cousin. Islam, yeah. But he always brings a fight, and everybody's excited to see him win or loss. So big ups to him.
So I guess the curse of picking King Green ended, Admire. Usually when you pick him, he loses and vice versa, right?
Yeah, back and forth, and it's always opposite. So I think we're on the same page now.
What do you think happens with him next?
I mean, he's still not in the top 15. I mean, he's got to be right outside of it. But they might throw him a bone and maybe give him a chance to get somebody at the tail end of the top 15. Realistically, what I think will happen is they'll probably just keep him on the back burner and try to throw him in somewhere if somebody drops out of a fight somewhere, and just give him a chance that way. Just have him fill in for a fight somewhere.
Yeah, that might be a possibility. What do you see happening for him next, Daniel?
I like what Admire said. I think they might throw him a bone and try to get him into the top 15 because he's always fun. And like we were talking about earlier with Tracy and with some of these people, where Bobby's always fun. He's a fan favorite. So they might say, let's get him, a top 15 ranking, or not even, obviously they can't give it to him, but let's give him an opportunity to do that. I think that'd be cool.
Steve?
What's Bobby's next? You say,
yeah. What do you think happens with him next, or who they may match him up with next?
I think he's been riding popularity, fan favorite, staying in the tabloids, and lately been winning. I would say anything in between. And you said, what is he now? Between, was he 13? You said?
I think he's not ranked. He's not ranked.
I think he should be introduced back in the rankings. He's got to win. And recently, what was that recent loss? Roofy. So, I mean, Roofy's doing good as far as ranking. So I would say give him a chance back in the top 15, between top 15 and 10. I think he's been doing a good job. And his last loss was against a ranked opponent, which was Mauricio Roofy. So I think he deserves it.
Yeah, he's just that train that keeps on rolling, King Green. So we'll see who they match him up with next. But let's move on to the next fight, fellas. Flyweight division, we had Brandon Royval defeating Lonnie Kavanaugh by submission, third round. All three of us had Kavanaugh, and this fight got fight of the night honors. Oh yeah, you had Kavanaugh too. Shit.
Yeah, he fucked up my parlay.
That busted up Admire's parlay too. But yeah, this was 15 minutes of chaos. Royval used that reach and that jab to take that early lead. Like Kavanaugh, kind of had a resurgence in that second round, and he dropped Royval in the center of the alcohol, and then that final round they went toe to toe, trading leather, and Kavanaugh went for that guillotine, which was not a good decision, and Royval slipped free and went in and tried to get that rear naked choke. Was able to get the decision though, unanimous decision. But what were your thoughts on this one, Amar? Oh, he got the submission. He got the submission. My bad. I said unanimous decision. It's late, y'all. My bad. He got the submission on Kavanaugh. What were your thoughts on this one, Amir?
Yeah, it was a good fight. Very surprising fight. The best way I could come up with to describe this with these two is Kavanaugh seemed like he really wanted to rely on just youth and skills and thought he would come in and win. And Roybal looks like he studied tape and came in with the perfect game plan. I mean, Roybal just did everything perfect. He just seemed like he knew exactly, the jab was going to work and how to use his reach perfectly. Kavanaugh was just kind of stumped for most of the fight. Didn't know, what to do to, just maximize anything really. I just felt like that there was no point in the fight that Roybal was really in danger except for that one spot that he got dropped. Other than that, I mean, he was just basically on cruise control to the win. So, yeah, messed up my parlay. I had to go back in and rebet because of this one. But, Roybal, he's really experienced, and there's a reason he's a bet.
Daniel?
You know what? I was disappointed because when Kavanaugh fought Brandon Moreno, I was so impressed, dog. I was like, this dude is the future, right? I was like, because I think I was so strong on Brandon, where I was like, Brandon's gonna walk through this dude, right? Even though Brandon's getting older, he's got miles on him. I was still like, he's gonna mop the floor with this little baby boy, right? He's got a little, he's still got like a little kid face, right? I was like, he's gonna, and then Kavanaugh really surprised me, dog. And I was like, all right, I'm on the Kavanaugh train. And then this dog, but you know what though? I kind of let my heart kind of make this parlay because I've never been a fan of Royval. So I was like, as much as I felt like Kavanaugh was going to do it, I don't really care for Royval. So I was like, yeah, this fool ain't going to do it anyway, right? And this dude's the future.
That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, right. So it was just, and then when Royval looked so good, I was just like, all right, dog. You know what? It kind of reminds me of Joshua Van. I bet against Joshua Van every fight for years. And then finally I had to be like, all right, dog, all right. You can't let your emotions when it comes to your money, So that was one where I had to kick back, and I was like, all right, I'll give it to Royval. That was a very impressive win,
I mean, you weren't wrong with making a Kavanaugh pick. This is pretty much a pick 'em. All of these fights on this card, a lot of them were pick 'ems. Of course, not the Stevenson fight, but I think most of the fights on the main card,
they were pretty much though. The wins were pretty much all favorites until the last three fights. And I know because I had a parlay for the last three, and of course McGregor. I had a parlay for the underdogs for the last three. And I was like, hell yeah, the first two hit, and I was like, hell yeah, and then we all know what happened to McGregor, so we'll get there.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I always known Royval was skilled. It's always stayed in between 1 and 5, so he's a veteran and stays there. But sometimes when you see people lose, you almost forget and start losing faith in them. And I guess this one where I was reminded of Royval is, he's not a joke. I mean, like you said, winning against Moreno. I remember Steve Erceg was getting pushed up really big, and he took care of him. All of his losses has been from people on the way up, or high prestige people in the ranking. Cape. What was his loss before that? Very high people. So I thought this youngster was going to come, and he's hot himself, getting KOs, and what do you know? Royval used his veteran skillship to, I think, win that fight. And I thought it was going when he got knocked down, because that's usually how his fights go. He gets hit with a good one and just gets deteriorated with a TKO or something, but pushed through that and got the win. So, like I said, Royval is a fighter in flyweight that's been in the top 5 for years. So big up to him.
So I won't say that the win against Moreno was fool's gold, but I was very high on Kavanaugh after the Moreno win, former champion. I just think that the talent pool in this weight division is so close that any given night, one of these guys could beat each other. I just think that what it came down to. Because like I said, in that second round, Kavanaugh showed that he was game. He didn't just roll over. He was in there scrapping. So literally a pick 'em, wasn't it? Like one person, Admire was like a -1 something. The other was a +1 something. So it's pretty much a pick 'em. So, one small move and that could be the turn of a fight. And what's his name? He was able to find the opening. Royval was able to find the opening and sink in that choke. And that's all she wrote. But if you're Kavanaugh, I don't think you hang your head too much. You just go back to your drawing board, take some time off, go back to the drawing board and make small adjustments, and you're right back in there. But as far as Royval goes, he's former title challenger. You think they throw him right back in the mix, Admire?
I mean, he's up to number 3 now, so he's in the mix. I mean, above him you got Cape, Pantoja, and Champ Van. So I mean, those 4 right there, they're all in the mix. So I mean, they got to let it shake somehow.
Is there any word on the status of Pantoja? Because that's definitely should be the fight next. Van and Pantoja rematch, especially the fluky way that fight ended. I never really got an update on how bad the injury was in that fight on his recovery, because Van has defended the belt once since then.
Josh Van and Pantoja are reportedly scheduled to fight September 19th at UFC 331.
Really? I didn't know he was that close to coming back, Pantoja.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but that's what the Google machine's saying.
When is that fight? What month is that fight happening? You said
September 19th at UFC 331.
Wow. That's coming up quickly. So Royval, has he fought Van? He fought Pantoja, but I don't think he's fought Van. So yeah, he did fight Van. That was the fight of the year last year. I'm tripping. So I don't know. I don't know if you could throw him back in there then, even if he could just like wait for the winner, just because he fought both of those guys in recent history. Admire. So what do you say about that? About he just might be shot of luck as far as he already faced those guys. Matter of fact, I'm really tripping. That fight got inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame this past weekend. And I saw the footage for that. I don't know why I had a brain fart. Was that Daniel?
Nobody's gonna call you out. Don't trip.
Yeah, like they showed footage of it when I was watching the card. It wasn't the UFC Hall of Fame, but it was like the fighters union or whatever. They had like the award ceremony, and that fight got inducted, and both those guys were on stage. So yeah, I'm tripping, and we talked about that fight on the show. I don't know how to brain fart, but yeah, since he already faced those guys recently, Admire, I don't know. It just might be like, remember Max Holloway was in that weird space where he fought Volkanovski all those times, and he just kind of had to just kind of wait when Volkanovski lost the belt. So is that the situation that Royval might be in right now?
It kind of is. I mean, it's kind of that limbo situation. You kind of got to wait and let things shake out and see. But, if they want any progress, they're going to have to run it back somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking like, even though the flyweight is a good division, a lot of these guys already fought each other already. So, like, he already fought Tatsuro Taira. Like Steve said, he fought Cap.
Or, I mean, I know you hate it, but maybe he's a situation, since he's already fought all those guys, maybe you throw him on the BMF belt.
Hell, you knew I was gonna hate that. No, I don't like that at all. The fake belt. Yeah, you just have to wait and just see how everything shakes out. But
I hate that belt too, EJ.
Yeah, it's like it's basically a toy, a prop. It doesn't have any real weight to it. But yeah, well, we'll see what happens with Royval in the future. But let's keep it moving, fellas. Bantamweight division, we have Mario Bautista defeating Corey Sandhagen in unanimous decision. And I'll be honest, man, this fight, it was like I was kind of diddling on my phone a little bit during this fight, but Bautista is probably the biggest win in his career. He got revenge on that 2019 fight where that was his debut and he lost to Sandhagen. And Sandhagen looked good early on, but that leg injury compromised that movement as the fight went on, and Bautista did what he needed to do and was able to press forward and put pressure on Sandhagen with the wrestling, and got those combinations in, and Bautista controlled the final 2 frames, sweeping the judges' scorecards. And I think he's ranked in the top 5 now, if I'm not mistaken, Admire Bautista. Number 4.
Yeah,
he went up a
number
spot.
4 now. Yeah, they just switched spots, 4 and 5.
Spot. So what are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, I mean, Sandhagen looked good until that leg injury thing. Had high hopes for him. Had him on my parlay as well. So, another fight I was screwed on. But I think this kind of speaks more about Sandhagen's ability and skills and toughness. He was able to fight off a guy while he was injured and still not get taken out all the way. And I think it, kind of shows that he's probably better than Bautista. Bautista couldn't finish the guy, got to a decision. What would happen if Sandhagen was full strength, didn't get injured? I think Sandhagen probably would have just mopped him, but could have, should have, would have. If my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle.
Hold up, before I get your opinion, Daniel, I forgot to mention me and Steve both had Bautista and Admire had Sandhagen. Are you saying this just because you picked Sandhagen, Admire?
No, I'm just saying, like, the dude injured his leg early in the fight, and Bautista still couldn't finish him. Like, the dude wasn't very mobile and couldn't do a lot of the normal stuff that he, normally would. He wasn't shoot the takedowns. I think Sandhagen had 1 takedown the whole fight. Like, he just couldn't fight his normal fight game. And, Bautista still won and got the decision, but coulda, shoulda, woulda.
What are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
I wasn't too impressed with Bautista. I did think he was going to win. But it was kind of like a whatever. It was kind of, I don't want to say it was a throwaway fight, but you said you were on your phone. I dipped out to go drop a deuce, came back, and it was all right. I mean, I did have him winning. So when he won by decision, and like Admire said, I mean, when you're fighting somebody, obviously not 100%, it's like, cool decision. You probably should fail. You probably should finish him, but I don't know. There's nothing impressive. There's nothing impressive for me, at least. So it was all right.
Steve?
Yeah, there was nothing too impressive as far as the fight. But if I remember saying in the last podcast, I think Bautista has potential and slept on a little bit. He's had a run, and actually his only losses came from Nurmagomedov. So he's been on a tear, and I think his actual as far as adversity was tested there. And I think Sandhagen, who is no pushover, I think we just may have not know the lore of as far as like his wins, but he's just being tested now. But I think he's starting to prove that Bautista's up there, let alone I started looking at him with the Aldo when he surprised me there and got a good win off a veteran. And then was the Patchy, he fought him. Yeah. And he was supposed to be a high person of hopes, and he took care of him pretty skillfully and professionally. So I think we're going to start seeing him surprise people, cracking the top 5 maybe, if he can get a skill level up in that area. But I think he's one of those fighters that are slept on.
Yeah, lost to Nurmagomedov, but Nurmagomedov is a former title challenger, so that's nothing to hang your head on, if because Nurmagomedov is a beast. But he avenged this loss against Sandhagen, but he lost against Trevin Jones, which is not a good loss. But this was 5 years ago. I don't know who you put him up against next, Admire.
Sandhagen?
Yeah, no, Bautista.
I mean, Bautista's up there, so I mean, you got to go somebody up there. I mean, you only have a couple people to to choose from. I mean,
O'Malley.
Yeah.
I was reserving O'Malley for Sandhagen, but I don't think the UFC would do that. So, I mean, I guess you kind of have to do Batista and O'Malley. I mean, that's a big seller right there.
I think Batista will probably wrestle him, but no, they put Nurmagomedov. I don't know if they have anything on the docket for him. He'd probably try to wrestle him as well. So he might be stuck between a rock and a hard place, O'Malley. You might have to face a wrestler regardless. So it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with him moving forward. But let's jump into the co-main event, fellas. Lightweight division. We had Paddy the Baddy Pimblett defeating Benoit Saint Denis by technical submission. Steve had Paddy and me and Admire had Benoit. And not much to say about this one. Denis closed the distance immediately and shot for that takedown, and Pimblett anticipated perfectly. He locked
That's all
up
she
that
wrote.
he front headlock, he transitioned into that dart stroke, rolled through it, and slept him. Like, he was unconscious, and the ref had to step in.
Literally
And,
slapped him.
yeah, the ref had to step in there and get Paddy off him. What were your thoughts on this one, Amar?
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, really, my only thought is everybody's best bet is just to stand and strike with Paddy. Like the 2 times we've got to see this dude use his jiu-jitsu, he is an animal with it. And when he locks in a submission, it is tight. Remember his last one was with King Green when he locked in that choke. And now we've seen him lock in this choke. Like, we didn't know he had like a submission game, you know. Like, this dude's an absolute beast with that shit. Like I said, people need to just stay with the striking on this guy because he's just no joke. So, and I said it earlier, I mean, I think he's the new face. Like, that the pop that he got when he came out, like, I think he's the new it guy. Like, I don't know if there's anybody bigger.
You said he's the new it guy. How come you didn't pick him, though?
I mean, skill-wise, I don't know. I didn't think he was the it guy, but I think popularity-wise, I think he's the new it guy. I think he's the new face.
Huh. Okay. What are your thoughts on this one, Daniel?
You know what? I think Paddy's I think Paddy actually, obviously this was a super impressive win. But I think his stock actually came up after after that Justin fight, because when he lost to Justin, everybody's like, you know what? Everybody started kind of getting down on him. And then Justin wins the belt, and they're like, wait, hold on. Maybe Paddy was better than we thought. And then he comes out with a super impressive win like this, and you're like, oh damn, he really might be the dude. He might be the answer, right? So it's, to me, I feel like he might be the face, because I feel like obviously he would have been a fan favorite when he came out regardless. But now that people kind of put it into perspective, and they're like, wait, he went toe to toe with Justin, and so he comes out and everybody's like, Paddy the Bat, right? Everybody's, and so I feel like that loss meant a lot less after Justin won the belt, and you're kind of seeing where he was with him. So I agree with Admire. He might be the next face. He might be, because I feel like they try to push that with Sugar for a while, and then Sugar had some not so impressive losses, and so his stock kind of went down. But I think if they're looking for the next dude, Paddy's the dude, man. Especially a win like that. If he gets 1 or 2 more like this, not even that impressive, but he has a good submission or something, that even in the second round or something, I think they're gonna push him, because he's a fan favorite. He's a badass, right? He's way better than a lot of people thought. So I think I'm with Admire. He might be the dude.
Steve?
Yeah, I think I saw this coming, because I knew he'd be somewhat up to par striking. I mean, he's gotten some striking battles to show that he can strike, which he's showed that he can go the distance with Justin. So looking at this fight with Denis, I knew that he would be able to stay up with him in the stand-up, and let alone I have to look back at the last episode. If I predicted that, I said, man, all he has to do is shoot or do something, and it's it for get a hold of his neck, which I kind of visualized and saw. And you saw Patty. I mean, he's the type of person that he slaps those arms around your neck, and you saw, man, Denis tried to gator roll, and most people lose form of their choke or technique, and you see that he wasn't moving nowhere like an alligator on his neck, rolling with him. And I think as far as in the lightweight, I mean, we have a devastating person that has a skill level that you can fear. Certain people have the striking, Ngannou. I think we might have a replacement for Charles Oliveira as far as the dangerous person that has jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I agree with Admire and Daniel to an extent. I think they are going to try to push this guy as the next guy, but I just think there's a ceiling to his popularity because, like I've said on previous shows, it's like 3 levels of popularity as far as, these MMA guys. You got, you're popular within the MMA world. And then the next level is you're popular in the general sports world. And then above that, you break through in pop culture. There's only been 2 people in the MMA world that's broken through pop culture. As popular as Chuck Liddell was, I think he kind of just got to the general sports level. Same with even with like a John Jones and GSP Silva. It's only been Ronda and Conor that's been able to break through pop culture. I think Patty Sealand is that like general sports world breakthrough, and he hasn't gotten there yet. Just because this also his style, it was just a perfect storm with Conor. He was knocking everybody else, talking his talk, and got the Floyd fight, and that kind of vaulted him up into pop culture. And Patty, he does, even though he does have some sound bites, he's not like a talker like Conor, and his style is not conducive to him, getting the highlights with the grappling. It's nice as far as us like hardcores and stuff watching, but that's not going to get you on Sports Center. I mean, he did sleep the guy, but it's not like, Conor that gets you the TikTok algorithm knocking people out like Conor was on his run. So I don't know what your response to that is, Admire.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but the UFC has good PR people. They can help mold him into anything they need to be. They can tell him how to talk, how to walk, how to act, and they can help develop him in that way. So he can become a little bit more fan friendly as far as his talk and all that, and gain some popularity that way. Fight style, it is what it is. It's not really going to evolve much or change much. So he's not going to ever really have as much flash and bang as McGregor had. So you're right there. He's probably not going to be on, ESPN or any, national highlight reels. So yeah, you're mostly right.
Yeah. What do you think though, Daniel, as far as like his ceiling, as far as popularity goes?
I agree with you, EJ, because I think one of the biggest things is this was hard as hell to understand sometimes. And so, you could maybe put him in like a couple Bud Light commercials or something and give him a couple of lines, but to break through, I think like you said it perfect with Conor, it was the perfect storm for him to be, just shot out into pop culture. Ronda, the first woman, right? And how dominating she was. And Patty, as much as he's loved, I think, 1 or 2 losses, he might be back to where is he the dude? I don't know, whatever. But I think it just has to be a perfect storm, like you mentioned, to get into that pop culture fame. So I don't know if he'll ever make that crossover.
It's impossible to replicate. It just has to be, like you said, that perfect storm, because it's only been like I said, 2 people around it. Like you said, being the first woman, and she was able to talk, helped her, and then Conor that Floyd fight, and he could talk you into the building. So,
Mhm.
like I said,
And
but
you
getting
understood
to
him.
and you understood but getting to like the general, like I said, the general sports where you're in the general sports world popularity, that height, like John Jones, that's nothing to sneeze at though, too, because not a lot of MMA fighters getting into, if you're a sports fan, you know who these fighters are. Chuck Liddell, look how popular he was. So I think there's nothing to sneeze at as well. But as far as the accent goes, it's funny that you mentioned that because he's from Liverpool. If you look at Liverpool, they don't have traditional British accents because I looked into that for some reason recently. Their accents mirror more so the Irish accents because of proximity for some reason. So that's why you can barely understand him. His accent is more closer to Conor than it would be like a Bisping. But Steve, what do you think about the ceiling as far as his popularity goes?
I would have to agree. I would say the highest he would get, as far as like his position in the UFC, you would have to take Justin Gaethje's clout, and then boom, like you said, that's only probably within the sports because Gaethje just got a win off the White House.
That's a good thing. Point that you bring. Being on this 250 card, you think Gaethje's broken into like the general sports fan realm as far as popularity? I think it's borderline.
I don't think so. I don't. I love Gaethje, right? I'm an Arizona dude. He's from Arizona, right? He's from a small town. I'm from a small town. But still, man, I think I don't think he. Nah. I like Gaethje. I just don't think that. What he did was very impressive, right? This dude was like a 6-1 underdog, right, against Ilya, but I mean, it's close, like you said, but I think he's just close enough under the bar to where I don't think he's there.
What do you think, Emma? You think he's in the general sports fandom now?
No, I think Gaethje's still relatively unknown to most. I would say most sports fans in general. So I don't think he's there. I would even go as far as to say that, a lot of MMA fans probably don't even really know who he is.
So you don't think he's a casual MMA fandom?
I mean, they know his name, but like they don't probably even know his like history. Like they don't know his whole past, how he, where he was before the UFC and all that stuff. Like I would say on the grand scale of things, he's mostly unknown.
I don't think casuals could pick him out of a lineup, to be honest.
Really? I think he's at the phase where he's at the casual popularity, where a casual fan who may have dipped in and dipped out. But you might be right. I don't know. That's a good point that Steve brought up, but I didn't mean to interrupt. You want to finish it off, Steve?
Oh, yeah. And, the thing between American and English, I mean, they probably do, but how many American accents you hear in an English commercial? And then how many commercials you like, Scousers, we don't get knocked out. Like, how many times you hear that on an American?
Skills right there, dog.
And, which I don't have a problem hearing it, but it's just like how much marketing. I mean, you're going to sell English stout. I mean, I've never seen an English stout too much promoted on commercial in America. I mean, off memory, what, Guinness? But
that's Irish.
Well, there you go. I mean, but saying that factor, he has the personality that's above somebody. Not saying he's not respectful, but respectful, calm, not hype, showing a side of people that we normally see, what they say, professionalism. Patty can get hype, call people out, talk a little crap. And I think he might, if we see him achieve certain wins, you might see him achieve above, maybe starting in to be household, depending on how he chooses his wins in the future or his opponents in the future.
Well, with that being said, who do you think he gets matched up with next, Admire?
Me. Yeah, you know who I think Patty gets next, and I've been thinking about this one. Charles Oliveira. I think that's the next fight to make, and I think it makes sense because especially since Patty won with that submission, everybody's really, I know I am. I'm interested. Is this guy the real deal when it comes to submissions, or did he just get lucky? With Benoit Saint Denis kind of just running into that submission, King Green running into that submission, or is Patty just the real deal? Is he that well rounded? So throw him up there against Oliveira because Oliveira, is almost that gatekeeper now. He's made it up to the top a few times, but he's not really consistently.
I don't think you could call somebody a gatekeeper once they already won the championship. I know sometimes they fall down a rung, but once you win the championship, I think that literally erases the gatekeeper stat. I feel like gatekeeper is a guy who couldn't quite get the championship, but I get what you're saying. He's kind of like fall back a rung where he might not be challenging for another title.
Yeah, he's
like
like
a champion's gatekeeper.
Yeah, he's like a contender keeper.
Yeah, you could label it that. I like that.
But I mean, I think that's the best matchup for Patty Pimblett, just to see, is this kid the real deal? Because he had that loss against Gaethje and everything. So I think Oliveira is just like the perfect test to see if he's really, really ready to go up there again.
I wouldn't mind that fight because because I don't count the Tony Ferguson because Tony Ferguson already fell off by the time they matched him up with Patty, even though a lot of people were hyped for that fight. The King Green, I think, King Green hovers around 10 to 15, so that was definitely a step up in competition. But until Patty got to the Chandler fight, because I think Chandler was still in that like top 10 when Patty fought him. That's when you really started seeing him get tested as far as better competition than the Gaethje loss. But I wouldn't be mad at the Oliveira fight. What do you think, Daniel?
I think that I don't want to say almost certain, but I feel like that is the next fight because I think with the hype right now, they're not going to give him Ilya. They're not going to give him Armin. They're gonna. I think Charles is a good way. I'm not saying he's going to walk through Charles, but I'll put all my money on him against Charles. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to submit him or it's going to be super decisive, but I just think in the end, Patty's going to win that one. And I think that'll then put him in the, as a contender in the top freaking 3 or whatever, right? You have Ilya, you have Justin, you have Armin, and I feel like the top 4 and Patty. I think that'll be dope. I think you'll have those 4. It'll be fun. So I think Charles, as much as I love Charles, and I was on the Charles train forever, but I think Patty, it's more Patty's time. I think Charles is more is on his decline. Which sounds crazy being in the top 5 for him to be on his decline, but I do see, I mean, even like Brandon Moreno's up there, right? But he's on the decline as well. So I think Patty versus Charles is most likely going to be the next one.
Steve?
Yeah, that's the only matchup I can see that's close enough. I'm assuming Charles Oliveira is still within 1 and 5, right? In between that?
Yeah, he's 4.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's 3.
Right.
Sorry. Excuse me. He's 3, actually. Holloway's 4.
He's 3 and then the champion, so technically 4, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, you could say Holloway, too, but, I mean, I would say the next matchup probably would be, because of style, definitely Oliveira. We've seen Oliveira take. I would say the soul, sort of metaphorically, like took the jiu-jitsu soul of Ferguson and became the jiu-jitsu guy as far as the lightweight jiu-jitsu wizard. And ever since then, he's taken that. But I see Patty Pimblett is definitely contesting for that position, and they're in the about to bump heads, and I think it would be a test to see who would jiu-jitsu is more superior. I think it would be more interesting because we looked at Ferguson and Oliveira interesting when that fight came out to see who was the best in jiu-jitsu. So I think this is another form of that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. it's, like you said, that style, the jiu-jitsu style, to see how it stacks up. But before we move on to the main event, one more last thing. We got to talk about this Saint Denis side of things. I mean, he went on that, even though he had that back-to-back losses against, who was it against? It was against Moicano and Poirier. And then he went on that 4-fight win streak, and now he had another stumble with this Pimblett loss. He fell back like 4 spots to number 8. Who you see a bounce back fight for him at this point, Amir?
Without having his resume in front of me, I think that he needs to go against somebody that's really close to him, like a Moicano, Gamrot, that Quinlan.
I mean, he lost to Moicano already. I'm not too big of a fan of rematches within a year or two span.
Or maybe even like Dan Hooker. What's Dan Hooker up to these days?
He beat Dan Hooker back in February.
Did he?
It's about Hoofy?
Yeah. He beat Hoofy back in September.
Well, we're running out of people, EJ.
He beat Dariush back in November. So you're kind of running out of people for him to go against. And
So
I wouldn't
Quinlan?
put him against Holloway. Yeah, you could put him up against Quinlan. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Sal Kiel. Yeah, so I think sometimes, even though that's what we do, we talk about what's next for these guys. I think sometimes you need to sit back because he fought a lot since taking that Moicano fight. He fought a lot of fights since then, so he might just need to sit back and see how the division plays out before he rushes back in there and takes another fight. So I wouldn't be mad at that, but we'll see what happens with him going into the future. But let's get into the main event, fellas. In the main event, the much anticipated return of the notorious one, Conor McGregor. He ended up losing to Max Holloway. I had Holloway, Admire Steve, had McGregor. I don't know if I've ever witnessed something like this. I will dig deep into, was he injured beforehand or was he injured during getting into the cage? But when the bell rang, he went out there and just did a jumping scissor kick for no reason, basically. And you saw the knee buckle, and he slipped to the canvas twice, and a confused Holloway looked on. He looked back at the ref, but Holloway landed that single kick, and then McGregor stood backwards and took a step backwards, and then Beltran pretty much waved off the fight, winning by very fluky. I don't want to say fluky, but very weird TKO victory for Max Holloway. So much to unpack here, but I'll let you attempt to kick this one off, Amir.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different opinions and ideas, thoughts, feelings, everything on this. I guess I'll just give mine. I'll just preface this all with allegedly because, I don't know shit about shit. Nobody else really does. But what I think happened, I will say I think that he was injured before the fight. And to support this, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when Conor was walking to the cage and, they get over by the cage and they take their shoes off and all that, he was taking his shoes off and he stumbled. He couldn't stand on one leg. And my girl pointed that out to me while we were watching the fight. She said, "Did you see that? He can't even stand up." And that was my first indication that he was already injured before the fight. Like he could not stand already. So there's that. Now, I think that he was already injured, and I think that he used that running, jumping, flying scissor kick as a way to kind of cover that up and say, oh, that's when I blew out my knee, because you can't say I came into the fight with a blown out knee. People have been sued for that before. You're not supposed to go into a fight injured. You can get in trouble for that or whatever. And he wouldn't have got paid. He got paid $30 million for this fight. So
Where'd you hear that from?
what?
30 million.
Oh,
I've
it's
been
everywhere.
here for 30 as well.
Yeah, it's everywhere. He got paid $30 million for that fight.
How did? All right. we'll put a pin in that. Continue, Admire.
It was actually 32 million, but so
453 and 18 cents.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's my thoughts. I think he came into the fight injured. I think that he did the running scissor kick to kind of cover it up and make that be the reason that he got injured. And because if you look at the way that he walked to the cage, it was different than any other time he's walked to the cage. He had a different demeanor than he's ever had. If you look at him when Bruce Buffer's announcing them, he just has the look on his face of, I know I'm going to lose. I'm already defeated. I'm doing this and I don't really want to be doing this. Like, he doesn't even have the look of, I'm making $30 million. Like, $30 million is fuck you money. That is life-changing money. And like, he looks defeated already, man. Like, you could tell there's something wrong with him. Like, absolutely 100%. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. He was injured.
I'm gonna get back to that. But Daniel, what were your thoughts on this one, and what was the household reaction when this all went down?
House was kind of like, what? Dog, we had just jumped up, everybody going crazy over the Patty fight, right? And when this happened, dog, complete silence. Everybody's looking at each other like, dog, did that just happen? But I don't agree with Admire's theory. However, to help his theory, even though I don't agree with it, I will say even more. You said, I don't know if it was your lady that had said something about when him hopping up. I've seen that a million times, just on social media. They've been showing that or whatever. But what I don't think they've shown at all, where I kind of noticed something was off, was when he was walking into the arena and he had his suit on and he looked like he had like a little bit of a limp. But it's kind of hard because with Conor, he kind of has that kind of like walk. But there was something odd, and I actually had on a fight, like a live watch fight on my phone, and I had my AirPod in, and I was watching it, and I was with the family. But somebody had pointed that out in the on the live chat or whatever, and they were like, "Yo, like, is there something wrong with him?" And the host was like, "Nah." They were like, I think he's cool or whatever." And that was before he had even changed into his freaking his chonies and shit, This was like when he was just in his suit and he was walking in. There was a little bit of an extra kind of limp that I think was addressed way before he even came into the ring. However, I think this was a freak accident. And but again, I keep going back and forth, Admire. I don't want to say I don't agree with you, because I keep going back and forth, because I don't know if it was his knee, but there was something bothering this dude. I don't know if his wife yelled at him or found some text messages or something, dog. But there was something going on, because him coming out to the octagon was not Conor. Standing there with his demeanor was not Conor, dog. It was almost like a different individual. It was like when you're watching freaking The Exorcist, right? And it's just not that the person's not there, right? Or you look at somebody when they die and it looks like their soul was just taken from them. That's not my grandpa right there, right? That his body's there, but this fool was somewhere else, right? He's chilling with Jesus right now because he ain't in there. I felt like that was with Conor, dog. He was there physically, but there was something going on with his eyes, dog. He was not Conor. So I don't know if it was an injury to support Admire, or if there was something else, but this dude was not himself, dog. That was all I can say. He was not Conor. He was not Conor. He was not the Conor, dog. He looked like, I don't know. He was just something. Either he was like, my leg's messed up, or I'm going to throw this fight just so I can collect the money, or what, dog. There was something there. There was something. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you, but there was something there.
Yeah. And the other thing related to that is there's videos of him going to a pain management clinic like 3 days before the fight as well. And he has a limp. So people pointed that out. And then also with this fight being at 170, if you look at his face during like the weigh-ins and like the pre-fight press conference, I mean, he looks kind of like he used to the days he used to cut a bunch of weight. He was real skinny before the fight, and then fight night where he rehydrated, his face was like super, super chunky. So like he rehydrated a lot. And like when he's rehydrated now, he looks very aged and weathered. So
He
like,
did.
I don't know if we have to say allegedly or if it's proof or whatever, but the stuff that he did over the last couple of years, drugs, steroids, partying, whatever, has taken a very big toll on his body. Like, and it was very apparent after he rehydrated.
Doug, he's my age. He looked like he could have been my dad.
Yeah, he's literally 2 days older than me, same year. But we definitely have to say it, allegedly, Admire. We're not trying to get sued here. So allegedly, he was doing steroids and partying and whatnot. But Steve, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man, it was sad, man. I was in denial because I like to see I hate staying up all night and being the dud, but that's exactly what it was. He threw that first kick, which to me, I didn't see anything not peculiar with that. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, he opened up with Cerrone with that same kick and, caught him off guard. And people say that it missed Holloway by the mile, but I mean, it wasn't a bad kick that he usually starts off with, and it wasn't far off the mark from where he was aiming. But I mean, I had a ACL and MCL blowout playing basketball, and I wasn't doing anything athletic like that. So I can literally see how he could have jacked his knee up, landing like that awkwardly. But at first, I'm like, oh man, somebody needs to wipe this damn floor. He's slipping, the second slip after the kick. And then he did it again. I'm like, something's wrong with his leg. And that's when I knew something was definitely wrong. And, I guess, in Conor McGregor's words, red panty night turned into granny panty night, because I turned it off right after the loss. I got upset, didn't see the press conference. I was watching Paramount, man. I turned on my UFC 6, try to reenact it, the disappointment. Try to make a better fight out of it than the damn fight I saw. It was that disappointing to me. Hearing things online, people are that's a person that takes a lot of painkillers or, drugs. Of course, he probably was in pain. I don't know these factors. Face bloating up, people taking prescription. I don't know, but people were saying things that, I mean, I guess I could see that wasn't normal, which Admar saying the bloating in the face, and although he's probably gained in weight, his body looked a little weathered, soft, and not as I don't know. Like y'all said, he the frame wasn't the same, and his behavior wasn't the same from what I seen.
So, of course, a lot of people got their tinfoil hats on, but like I said in the previous show, there's such thing as cage rust. That's why I didn't pick him. 5 years is a long time to be not active fighting, so I just didn't see a way for him to win this fight, even if it were to go to distance. But he ended up even making it a few minutes outside of the first round. As far as like seeing him at a pain management clinic, I don't know. He said he wasn't hurt going into this fight, so I just got to take his word for what he said. When you're training, especially as long as he was off, you have like nicks and dinks and stuff like that going into it. So he probably, had bumps and bruises going into the fight. Like you said, people noticed like him with a slight lip and whatnot. But I'm going to go and say that he didn't actually tear his ACL until he started doing that dumb shit and the flying kicks in the cage. I think that's when he tore his ACL. Like he might have had like I said, Nixon, he might have had a little bit of a limp just from training and stuff, but I don't think he tore his ACL until he did that kick. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
EJ, you know what it reminded me of? I
What's
don't
that?
even know if this is the correct person, but I don't know if it was Brian Ortega or it was somebody back in the day. Well, back in the day, maybe 5 years or less ago. But when they were getting ready, they were, Bruce Buffer's like, fighting, right? Out of the blue corner. Whoever this was like jumping up and down, and they like rolled their ankle or something. And that's what this reminded me of, was like the first little kick. I feel like that's why I'm not 100% sold on he came in injured. I think it was at first he threw that kick and then landed awkwardly on something he's probably done a million times, and it's a freak accident. Sometimes shit happens, and especially with him being older. I don't know. I'm not 100% sold either way, so I could be convinced either way.
I think it might have been Ortega that did that, if I'm not mistaken. But
Chris Barnett too.
Yeah, Chris Barnett, yeah, big boy. But Kavito and Rich brought it up in this show, like the Aaron Rodgers, the first sequence when he was on the Jets, he injured himself in that first series. So shit happens. So I don't know. Anything is possible in the world of sports. He might have been trying to hide it, but that brings us to where you said, I didn't realize he got paid $30 million for this fight. We can spend. I don't want to spend too much time because we're running a little bit late. But the UFC, sometimes they pay these guys 20 and 20 to show up. How could they possibly move forward at these fighters knowing that Conor McGregor got paid $30 million? This has to be the biggest purse ever. I'm not sure where this money came from or if he's getting paid on the back end.
They were offering
somehow.
John the same, right? And he turned it down.
I think
that's
Turkey
where I'm going to go with this.
I think Turkey Al Sheik was able to gather up that money for John Jones, if I'm not mistaken, between like 20 or 30 million, something around there. You're right about that. But I think it was because Turkey Al Sheik was able to get that money. Maybe Turkey Al Sheik got this money for Conor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Now, the UFC should never, ever again say that they can't pay John Jones after this. So, yeah.
Well, like Daniel said, they were going to pay him, I want to say, around that, but he declined it.
Well, they were in the beginning, because this is why the John Jones and Aspinall fight originally didn't happen. John Jones wanted 30 mil, and they said no. And then later on, it came out that they finally did say that they would pay him. But initially, they wouldn't. But now, yeah, I know where you're going with this. Like, it does set a new precedent. Like, there should never be anybody on any fight night or numbered fight card making $20,000 to fight when you got McGregor making $30 million, when I think Brock Lesnar's highest was $7 million, maybe.
Probably around that ballpark. But they don't even have pay-per-views nowadays, so they can't say it's off of pay-per-view points. The base salary, even for somebody coming off Dana White's Contenders or a last-minute regional fighter, it needs to be six figures, like base salary, even if it's just 100.
I wonder if they could, they don't have pay-per-view points anymore, right? I wonder if they can do, like, there's an influx of Paramount subscriptions or something. I wonder if they have that built into the contract or something.
Maybe that probably plays into a factor somewhat. That'd be interesting to, like, kind of how you keep track of those metrics, something like that. Like, how do you, unless you do like a survey, like,
that's why I have a normal job, to know this kind of shit.
Or, I mean, it's one of the numbers we hear about all the time when after the fights is the average number of viewers. It held this number of viewers, on average. That's probably the equivalent of like pay-per-view buys, just because that's how they sell their ad space now. Hey, the UFC's averaging 3 million viewers per event, so we're going to sell you the ad for this much. So that's how they can figure it for the fighters, something like that. And I forgot another conspiracy theory around this injury and fight was 82% of the action on bets was for McGregor. People were betting on McGregor. So people are saying that he was forced to take the loss so that it didn't bankrupt all the betting sites and casinos.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy into those conspiracy theories, but I don't know. You never know. But Daniel,
I like the show because you have both sides. You have EJ, the very grounded person, and then you have Admire with his tinfoil hat. you know, and
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle. So I like it. I like it. Where are you at, Steve? Are you more you lean more EJ or more admire, a little more out there?
Man, I've saw a lot of speculation. Um, I'll give Connor Bitterfin the doubt. He messed his knee up, but like there's a lot of stuff around it speculating if he was injured before. I mean, that's already conflict of interest, let alone, you know, uh, not wanting to win the fight to, for other people's benefits, probably to get back in. But
$30 million though, if I'm injured, I'm still going to go to work if I know I'm going to make 30 million, whether I'm going to do a good job that day or not. I mean, 30 million is 30 million. I don't give a fuck what I look like at work.
And
Dog,
also,
I would shave my head and my eyebrows for 30 million and we'll show up butt naked.
And I shave inside my crack too. So. But
I do that for free.
True. Hygiene is necessary, but I don't know. We'll talk about this on another show about the fighter pay. I just want to get into, do we see Conor fight again before we get on there? Because it's getting late early.
Do we see Conor fight again? Yes. He has one fight remaining on his contract, and he's not going out like he just did. And I'll even put my stamp on it with some more tinfoil shit. It'll be against Michael Chandler. The retirement fight for both of them.
What do you think, Daniel?
I like that. I didn't think about that. But whoever Conor fights next, I'm putting all my money on the other guy.
Hey, as you should. What do you think, Steve? Did we see Conor back in the octagon?
since Admar is saying that one fight left, I mean, that'd make him a free agent, man, to be have nobody over him. So he might as well get back in there and try to make a good mark on the organization before you leave.
Yeah, he has one fight left, like you guys said. I think we see him again just so he could, finish out the contract. I just think it's too much of a layup not to have him rematch Max Holloway. Rubber match. They're 1-1 now. Finish that out. And
if he fights Max again, I am gonna pull out loans to put on Max. I think Chandler would be the smarter move for the UFC because Chandler's. I mean, every time I watch him fight lately, dog, I'm like, I can get in there and whoop his ass, Like, so I don't know.
Go ahead, Emma.
I was gonna say the UFC has 3 options and only 3: Chandler, Max 3, Diaz 3.
Yes.
That's the only 3 options they have.
I just think Conor's pride is gonna want him to go back and avenge what happened against Max. We saw him do it with Poirier, and he was unsuccessful in trying it with Poirier. And I think he's just gonna try to get back in there, but we won't probably see him for another year because the ACL, they think they just did the surgery, and he says he wants to get back in there. So while he's waiting, you think Chandler might even make it then? He might get cut before then. You don't think he might get cut before a year? Because like I said, we at the very earliest, because that's an ACL. He's got a rehab and all of that. I don't even think we see him. We probably might see him, wishful thinking, late 2027, we might see Conor back in there. So you think Chandler will make it all the way until then? The way he's been fighting?
No, probably not. Chandler better not take a fight until then just to see what happens, because he'll probably lose. He really can't afford to take a loss. So, it's probably better to scrap that idea. Just get Chandler out of there now, really.
Paul Padone just showed up. What up, Paul? I don't know how long you've been here.
What's up,
but
Paul? Paul said Chandler is done. Yeah, I think he's done too, Paul.
that's a good point though, EJ. I think he might be done before we ever see it.
Yeah, and then I don't know what you do from there if he's done. I don't know. I just think, like Amar said, I think it's down to Diaz and Max Holloway for the most part. I don't know if y'all agree with that. You think
I
it's
don't even this, Doug. I don't even. I really don't. I don't know.
So if Holloway has to wait for that, like I said, it'd probably be late 2027 that will happen. What do you think he takes in between then? Because he's ranked number 4. What do you think he takes next?
Who, Connor?
No, Holloway. He's waiting for Connor to rehab.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
What do you think, Admire? Like, who do you think Holloway might face next if he's waiting for Connor to get well? He's ranked number 4 in the lightweight division. Is Admire frozen?
No, his eyes are moving.
Can you hear me, Daniel?
I can.
I can hear you.
Admire, you good? Steve, if Max Holloway has to wait for Connor to,
he can't hear you.
I mean, everybody can hear me. His mic is muted. I don't know. That's
and
weird.
there he goes.
But Steve, if Holloway has to wait for Max to rehab, if Holloway has to wait for Connor to rehab, like I said, we probably see Connor at the very soonest late 2027. So if you're Holloway, what fight do you take if he's ranked number 4 in the lightweight division?
I would say the best thing for him is try to get that Gaethje fight.
Huh. Oh,
you beat him in the BMF, try to get the lightweight championship.
Paul Padone says Carlos Prates. I wouldn't be mad at that fight. What do you think about that?
That's a so we're saying if he's staying within welterweight or even going
No, I think Holloway
lightweight.
I think Holloway goes back to lightweight. He's ranked number 4.
Okay. I mean, I think Prates might be too of a true welterweight for Max Holloway. I mean, damn, we forget Max in recent time has just been going up 2 weight classes. I don't think he's a natural welterweight.
Who, Prates or
Holloway?
Yeah, he's definitely not like.
That was like a perfect match, him and Connor, to leave off from like featherweight. I think anybody welterweight, Max Holloway. I mean, you're talking about more physically massed people. I think it wouldn't translate good for him.
What do you think?
What was the question?
If Holloway had to wait until Connor rehabs, he needs to take a fight between then. Presumably he'd go back down to lightweight. So Paul Padone in the chat was saying Carlos Prates would be a good match. I agree with that. That'd be a good fight for Holloway to get. And then Paul Padone also said Gaethje might be a safe bet. I don't know if you rush Holloway into a title fight. I got to see him one more test before then.
Just because of that highlight knockout, you kind of got to give Max that rematch, even though he doesn't deserve like the actual title shot, but it's kind of deserved because he got the knockout and he's such a company guy. He's got the legacy and everything. The Prates fight is kind of hard to sell because it is a step up in weight again. And we just don't really know how Max is going to fare against welterweights because that's a lot of bigger guys. What happens if, Max did go up to welterweight and beat Prates, then you got to throw him in there against Makhachev. Like, what happens when you put Max against Makhachev? An absolute ragdolling. Like,
yeah, I don't think he would stay up at welterweight.
Well, but if you beat Prates, I mean, you kind of have to stay and challenge
shit.
the champ.
I'm tripping. Prates is welterweight. For some reason,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Prates is lightweight.
Yeah, Prates is number 1 at welterweight.
Well, then I gotta rethink of what Papa Dunn said. And what about, we already said Paddy Pimblett and Oliveira. What about, even though you sent me a story saying that he was suspended at my, what about Gamrot? Oh yeah, no, that's Gamrot. Sarukian, Armin Sarukian.
Sarukian would be a pretty good fight, I think. The other one I was thinking, even though it kind of doesn't make sense after this weekend, is like a Max Holloway and St. Denis, because, you know, kind of the striking style would be good to watch them two fight. But I think, you know, ranking wise, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Papa Dunn said, give the boy a chance. As far as Holloway goes, Papa Dunn. Yeah, I mean, but if you're Holloway coming off, even though it was fluky, do you want to face somebody coming off a loss? I think he would probably want to go after that Sarukian fight if he doesn't get suspended, because I still hadn't heard anything about that betting situation that he had. But yeah, I mean, if you're Holloway, you don't feel good about, you know, a win's a win, but you don't feel good about how that fight ended. So
I think on the naughty list right now, so I don't think they're going to give him something like Max's as a reward to his act. You know what I'm saying?
What about? I know UFC is all about Russian rematches. Why not Holloway, Ilya, even though they already fought each other and he slept Holloway? Do a rematch, and whoever wins that gets the shot at Gaethje.
Gaethje has said though he's not fighting Ilya again.
Oh, he's gonna have to if
he said he's not fighting him. He has said he's not fighting him, and like definitively.
Well, then he's gonna have to retire and give up that belt, because what Uncle Dana wants, Uncle Dana gets. If they say you're fighting him, then you're fighting him. That might not be what he wants. I heard him say that too, but it is what it is. If Tapia Rufy, Papa Don says, how about Rufy? Man, what is Rufy up to? I don't know. It's a good question. Rufy's ranked number 10. He stumbled a little bit. Who did Rufy lose against recently? I think it was a Fight Night main event or something like that. He lost to St. Denis in that Fight Night. It wasn't the main event though. But then Chandler, but that's not something to brag about. And then he beat Fiziev. So Rufy's always in that mix. If I'm Max Holloway, I'm just gonna sit back a little bit. You know, I'm sure he got paid. They said Conor got paid $30 million. How much did Holloway get paid off of that fight?
Holloway got $5.6 million.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like
chilling.
5.
I mean, he does live in Hawaii though. We don't know that's the most like expensive state, so I don't know how much that 5 million will carry over in Hawaii. But still, he's still chilling with that. Yeah, I'm just gonna sit back and see how things play out if I'm Max Holloway. But one more thing before we get on out of here. Once Conor finishes up his contract with the UFC, y'all don't see him going over there and doing circus fights, maybe Jake Paul, or probably more viable for him to do bare knuckle since he's a shareholder in bare knuckle.
Nope, he's 100% going to go over to MVP with the Paul brothers because that's the only place that could pay him what he makes now. So he made 30 mil this weekend. He's going to make 30 mil for his last fight. And then he can go to the Paul brothers and make 30 mil or more for a circus fight and ride off to the sunset. Because, you know, I don't know how much money he has left from anything he's done, but let's just say, for example, say he was flat ass broke going into this weekend. He's got 30 mil there, another 30 mil coming for the last fight, and then another 30 mil for a circus fight. There's $90 million right there. There's enough for him to retire. He just recouped a lifetime of money. Good to go. So that's exactly what I would do if I was him. So
Papa Don said, didn't Rufy wax home? Yeah, but it was Chandler. Chandler's washed. So not to take anything away from that performance because it wasn't well, but Chandler's washed. So you think MVP has the money to put up for McGregor? You said what, 30 million Amar? You think he get paid from MVP?
Especially if he's gonna fight somebody, like they're not gonna put McGregor against some scrub on an MVP card. If they're gonna actually put McGregor against Jake Paul, if they're gonna put McGregor against, somebody of note, it can't just be some geek. It's got to be somebody
You say
with
some
a
geek
name.
off the streets.
Yeah, it can't be a geek off the streets. They got to be hitting with a steel.
Mount up. But yeah. For some reason, okay, you made me think of something. If they do Diaz 3, I think that would probably be more likely to happen in MVP than UFC. For some reason, I think it's Holloway or bust in the UFC for his last fight. But I don't know. You think you see that happening, Daniel? Him going over to MVP?
100%, because Jake Paul's gonna find the money. He's gonna find the money. He's gonna pay him out the wazoo, and I think yeah, and I think 30 million is lowballing on what he'll give, because Jake Paul knows that he can sell Conor. After his last fight, say Conor gets a W and he gets to walk out, whatever. Just because they're washed in the UFC doesn't mean once they leave there, they can go to these other promotions and still be super huge. So they go to MVP. Jake knows how to sell a fight. He knows he'll put up some of his own money if he has to recoup some of it after, the pay-per-view buys or whatever they do or however they do it. I think 100% that's going to be his move.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Jake Paul putting on a McGregor and Mayweather rematch. Mayweather's hurting for money now, and that would sell crazy again. Even though it's like insane to do, it would still do crazy numbers.
Papa Don says, "Come on, poor Diaz is a few punches away from being a part of my side." He is very punchy. Some reason, no matter how bad he does in the cage or the ring, he has that fan base that just won't let him go off into the sunset. Like he's got that rabid fan base for some reason. Diaz is that cult following. I don't know if we have seen that. Admire Mayweather. I mean, like you said, allegedly he is hurting for money. Mayweather is. I don't know, man. I don't want to see Conor box. I don't know how well he does in another boxing match. It'll probably be MVP. The MVP MMA side of things. What do you think, Steve? Close us out with this topic.
I think definitely that'll be his goal. Admar took it right out of my mind. I think I've heard during his interviews that he said that out of his mouth, maybe a Floyd Mayweather rematch. And I remember before he fought Mayweather, he's like, maybe we're gonna have to pull Floyd out here, and thought like, oh, he's bullshitting, but it turned out he fought Floyd, so he might have that in the itinerary soon he gets done with his contracts, and he'll be free agent, so to speak, to make these fights happen.
Yeah. Papa Don says, aren't we done with the sideshows? No, as long as they keep making money, I think they're not done with the sideshows. So I think we'll definitely see some down the line. But coming to the end of the show, before we get on out of here, on the recap shows we do, casual comment of the month, and Admire found this casual comment of the month. They said, is this Reddit? Admire said he wants out of his UFC contract so badly. So are they referring to Conor McGregor in this?
They are referring to Conor McGregor, and I think it's kind of a casual comment because does he really want out of his contract? I don't think he wants out of it really bad, and we just talked about why. He makes $30 million a fight. The UFC is the biggest MMA company. It's where he's going to get the most spotlight. It's where everything is. So do you really think that McGregor wants out of his contract so badly? I don't think he wants out of it because, I mean, he just got $30 million. He's going to get another $30 million. So does he really necessarily need out of his contract?
What do you think, Daniel?
I don't think it's a terrible take, but I see where Admire's coming from. I could just see yeah, you know what? All right, Admire, I agree with you, right? I don't think it's a terrible take, but I mean, he is still making ducats right now, right? So I don't know.
Steve?
I can kind of agree with that. Just like many careers, mechanic, you can work for a corporate shop or you can make money on your own. Does he? And by that example, I'm saying, is he comfortable with fighting with an organization or a company that'll feed him fights, or does he want to retire away from that and be responsible to make his own schedule for the year? And I don't know if that's a factor for him or not, but definitely if you're getting 30 million and UFC's going to offer you fights for you instead of hiring your own promoter, hiring your own manager to find the fights, I figure UFC's doing that pretty much for you. So I don't know how much of a difference is when these people retire from the UFC, how much of an issue or how much of a different lifestyle that would give them. Not working for a company no more.
I don't know. I might actually agree with this comment, actually, because, like you said, I mean, if he made 30 million on this last fight, but you think he's going to get paid that every single time? I don't know if the UFC and TKO, man, as far as the WWE side of things, they've been cutting wrestlers' contracts left and right. I think this was Conor's kind of thank you of coming back. I don't know if they'll pay him 30 million every single fight, Admire.
I mean, his contract, it might have been upgraded to that since they got rid of the pay-per-view model. I mean, because he was the pay-per-view king. So they might have said, hey, no more pay-per-view, so you're getting a flat 32 million or whatever it was. I can't imagine them saying, okay, well, you know, this one time it's 32 million, your next fight's half of that. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I'm still sure it's going to be quite a bit of money. But I don't think that he's the type of person that just wants out of this contract so badly. I'm stuck in the UFC. Damn it, let me out. Like, I don't think he's like John Jones begging to get out of his contract. I mean, Conor McGregor's not a quiet, humble person. If he wanted out of his contract so badly, I think we would have already heard him talking about wanting out of his contract.
I don't know if necessarily if he wants out so badly, but he's like, let me hurry up and just get this over with, you know. Of course, 30 million, that's always going to be a good thing to fight for. But I think if he, you know, goes on the free market and not even necessarily a free agent, but goes on to do Mac Life, whatever his production company is, he doesn't even have to do it MVP. He can do his own thing and get 50, 60 million for a fight. So that's why I think like he's looking to not necessarily. Well, no, I'll go ahead and say looking for greener pastures outside of this UFC contract. I don't think he re-signs. Any of y'all think he actually re-signs after this fight is over?
No,
I don't think
Not
so.
even close. Nah.
Dana gets a piece of that Mayweather money every time he fights outside the UFC. So I'm pretty sure you don't want to give Dana any pension that he needs.
Yeah, so definitely an interesting comment. So that was the casual comment of the month. But coming to the end of the show, finally, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And yeah, thank you, Daniel, for coming and kicking it with us. Make sure to check out the after show, but later, y'all are going live tomorrow at
5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 6 p.m.
So that's 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central. So make sure to check that show out. And we got to have you back on, man, for one of the big fights, man. You always bring it when you come on.
You guys are always fun, man. So I appreciate you guys having me and giving that shout out, EJ. I just appreciate you guys' time. Admire, I know you're a Covino and Rich listener. I don't know if Steve is, but we all got to make it to a convention one day and kick it. And this, you know, it's fun. So I appreciate you guys inviting me on. And yeah, man, for Conor's last fight, I definitely got to come back on.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, make sure to follow the After Show But Later. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And we'll be back at the end of the month and do a boxing show. And what is up next month, Am I? UFC 330. I know you mentioned
UFC 330. We got Makhachev against Ian Machado Gary. It's exactly a month from today.
Mackenzie, right? Isn't she fighting?
Mackenzie Dern and Jillian Robertson is the co-main event for the women's strawweight. You got Neil Magny on the card, Jalen Turner, Jeff Neal. That's a bit. Luke A, Edson Barbosa, Ribovic, Aaron Blanchfield. It's really a fight night card that it looks like, other than like the top two. It's not a great card.
So I'm seeing that Ankalaev was supposed to fight Roundtree Jr., but it looks like Roundtree dropped out of that fight. It's a fight night before this next number card. It looks like he's fighting Goose Golf instead. So I don't know. But the fight night next weekend, we have Duplessis versus Usman. That's this weekend. Cannonier, Chase Hooper. I have some time. I might have to do a quickie episode. Keep you posted on social media if we jump on and cover that. But yeah, that'll do it for us here on Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Appreciate it.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, leave you in the nine. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top.